The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will today hold its first public hearings for the year 2026 at 9:30 this morning. 2 witnesses are expected to appear before the commission when it resumes its hearings at the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria. The commission is probing allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi about criminality, corruption and political interference in the police and the criminal justice system. Here's SABC News anchor Ayanda Nyathi and reporter Canny Maphanga that are in Pretoria for us this hour. So Ayanda, you say not 1 but 2 witnesses expected to take the stand when the commission starts at 9:30.
That's right, Mkhwanazi. And unlike what we've seen in the past, we still don't know who these witnesses are, with less than half an hour to go before the commission begins its work for the first time in 2026, but of course takes off from where they left off in 2025. Welcome back to the country's capital. We're live to you from the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College. Not a cloud in sight, and Kenny and I are paying the price for that. It is extremely hot at this early moment at 9:05 on this Monday morning. But we'll jump straight into it, Kenny, because there's still so much to discuss, especially when you consider how much time the commission has left before they have to wrap up their work. But let's begin by just, I suppose, giving our viewer a sense of what to anticipate. Jeremy Michaels still very tight-lipped about who these witnesses are. We'll get to the reasons in just a moment, but he did say that we're likely to carry on with the PKTT stream.
Indeed, that is the Political Killings Task Team, and of course that theme or the guessing game that we're about to do now is twofold. It's either you're discussing the directive itself or you're dealing with the work of the PKTT, and of course in phase 1 of the evidence we've heard about how successful they were, to the extent that they were allegedly disbanded because of their success in supporting counterintelligence in Gauteng with their investigations that led them to these alleged cartel members. Or you could deal with the directive itself, which was issued by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who is now on a leave of absence, on the 31st of December 2024. We've gotten some idea from Mchunu as to what may have supported his decision to disband the PKTT. It seems that he's trying to create the stream that it was an independent decision that was taken upon 2 days of reflection in a very short time frame, and of course looking at a particular report. However, it leaves out some gaps surrounding the people that would have needed to be considered before such a decision of such magnitude would have been taken, that would affect policing with respect to the work that they were doing, not only in their mandate of political killings, but with Forte, and then of course how they were supporting counterintelligence with their investigations in Gauteng. So it's twofold, the kind of evidence that we could be dealing with. But of course, because there are only 2 witnesses in 1 day that are expected, and we know for a fact that Sunona is expected from tomorrow, right, it means that the evidence is either quite a short statement or you're dealing with evidence where there is clarity-seeking questions from the bench. That will be confirmed at 9:30 a.m. this morning. We actually see who takes the stand, if it is a familiar face or if it is someone new to give us evidence relating to this PKTT stream. It could also deal with something that is connected to the PKTT but not directly involved with the team, and we'll expect at 9:30 a.m. this morning, when that witness takes a stand, we'll get a fuller picture as to what exactly are we dealing with this morning, where there are 2 witnesses that are expected who are unknown at this stage. However, we do know that they're contending with that query, and with the evidence, or rather the statement stating that it is phase 2, one would expect that it is implicated persons. But with the PKTT being the subject that it is possible that we are going back into the realm of phase 1, because we do know that although phase 2 is going to intensify, that there will be an occurrence of phase 1 rearing its head during this particular period.
Without a doubt. And there are reasons we could infer from when we consider why the Commission is doing this. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, typically we'd have an idea by now who the witness is. But of course, given how things unfolded in the latter part of last year with the killing of witness D, I imagine the Commission is very concerned about some of the security risks that might be posed to some of these witnesses, and are leaving nothing to chance.
I'm sure. But it's important to note that with witness D's murder, that is still being investigated, and there still isn't a motive or a cause that directly links the work work of the Madlanga Commission to that particular murder. And we're seeing that there are multiple options being explored by police in their investigations relating to this sensitive issue of that particular witness that delved into the evidence of the city of Ekurhuleni and the alleged criminality that had engulfed those particular EMPD officers, together with the private security officers and other law enforcement agencies in those various incidents that we're hearing of. That includes the murder of Mbense, who's the shop owner that was allegedly, it's a torture method that I'm forgetting the name, it's escaping me right now, but it seems that there was an incident that took place there in which he was suffocated allegedly to death. And of course, there was a robbery that took place there as part of a larger alleged syndicate that was operating within the Ekurhuleni region. So, of course, that evidence is going to play quite a role in the Madlanga Commission as they test how compromised, allegedly, some of these law enforcement agencies are. But because of those events and the kind of speculation that would have come up, and I guess the kind of feelings it would have brought up in people who want to give information coming forward, or the kind witnesses that we're expecting, it is expected that to exercise caution, those security measures would be implemented. And of course, as you come in today, we see that security is always tight here at the Madlanga Commission, leaving nothing to chance with respect to these witnesses. However, we do know that when the witnesses are in camera, they are protected in that regard. But of course, this is public hearing, so we expect that when they take the stand, you'll be able to see who the witness is and hear the testimony in full.
Yeah, in many respects, this commission is going to have to hit the ground running because of those time constraints. And in fact, there were already questions from the very beginning around whether or not the terms of reference are just too broad to cover everything that needs to be covered in time, in order to prevent this from being yet another commission that goes on and on and on, only for the reports to gather dust somewhere later on.
Well, it is quite strict when you are seeking further time with respect to commissions. I remember with the Zondo Commission, the High Court granted a final extension at that time, and they had to quickly complete their work. But as things stand right now, they're at 6 months, which means 17th of March is technically the deadline. But we're only starting phase 2 now, which means that is 6 to 7 weeks away. It's highly unlikely that you would complete phase 2, implicated persons, and get through phase 3, which is the testing of all the evidence in totality, and seeing the person who would have started this process, Mkhwanazi, coming back to give his input or answer some of those questions that may come from persons that he has implicated. It is expected that in light of the time frame that we're looking in, and the fact that you're not anywhere near the kind of work that you need to complete the report that would give the president an insight into these allegations, it is expected that the commission would have to write to the president to seek some form of an extension, at least beyond the 17th of March, in order to get their work done, in order to give him an idea of the kind of problem, if any, that the country is facing with respect to this alleged infiltration into the criminal justice system by these alleged criminal cartels, allegedly with the assistance of law enforcement agencies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that the interim report has already been, given to the president. It wasn't made public. The final report, we're told, will be made public. And again, all we can do is infer and kind of think about what is likely to unfold in the next couple of weeks. Two critical figures that come to mind for me insofar as phase 2 is concerned is definitely Shadrach Sibiya, who we're yet to hear from. Cedric Nkabinde also comes to mind, the former chief of staff in the police as well. So many questions still lingering about, what they knew, what they didn't know, what kind of instructions they gave insofar as the disbandment of the PKTT is concerned.
Indeed, and I would also add General Gafi Labia to the list as well, because he is part of the evidence that places him at the top as the main instruction with regards to that Operation Takedown of Katiso KT Molefe and the presence of the Hawks in their numbers, even diverting them rather from very serious investigations or operations that they were set to head on in order to head to this particular residence in order to find out what was going on there. And we're hearing evidence that Hawks would have already known what was going to take place at that particular residence, and we're not knowing what triggered Libya to send out that request for them to go and authorize in such big numbers, whether or not those are Hawks officials or not, at the particular residence. Of course, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya is implicated in a number of testimonies with regards to the directive to disband the PKTT.
The dockets apparently.
Indeed, he would have had the dockets at his headquarters, and then we're also seeing evidence that he didn't know what to do with them once they had gotten to the particular headquarters. They moved from place to place, but we're hearing that they just gathered dust. So the question really is, what was that move about, and what did it intend to achieve with respect to the work of the PKTT? Was he allegedly trying to get a peek into what the investigations are? Because we're seeing a message in the WhatsApp exchanges where he states quite clearly that the PKTT, with the help of counterintelligence, is investigating me. So it seems that there was some kind of, I guess, suspicion that he would have had towards this particular team from the WhatsApp messages, and he would have known allegedly or wanted to know what is in those dockets, or was he allegedly trying to stall the work that they were doing? Remember, there is a key individual that is said to be part of his office as the DNC, who is captured in CCTV footage at the home of Katiso Katie Milefe, arriving at the home and shortly thereafter leaving carrying a bag. Yeah. And he is directly in the office of Shadrack Sibiya. So it raises the question as to what that police officer was doing at the home of Katiso Katie Milefe. What is it that he grabbed from that particular home and was leaving with in that particular, I guess, bag that is, we don't know what the contents are, but we know what is being implied through the evidence with regards to that particular bag. So there's certainly a lot of questions for Shadrack Sibiya to answer, as well as Cedric Gabinde as the Chief of Staff, regarding the communication relating to this particular directive, where it could have been, I guess, communicated prior to the public knowing about it, or the persons of interest knowing about it. And then, of course, the alleged middleman, Brown Mkhwanazi, and the alleged meetings that were supposed to happen or were supposed to be planned between the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, and other members or alleged cartel members. What role did Cedric Gabinde play there, and what does he know about those particular meetings, and what were the communications, if I could put it that way, between him and Brown Mkhwanazi when those so-called meetings were being planned? So there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, a lot of gaps in the testimony, according from phase 1, and of course phase 2 is where the implicated persons are going to try to give us their version to try and close those particular gaps. But often what you do see is that when cross-examination does arise, it raises more questions than it does give us answers about this particular evidence.
Absolutely. We're less than 15 minutes now till the start of the Madlanga Commission, at least for 2026. Once again, day 46. And as you can hear, still so many unanswered questions about what lies ahead, with the deadline of the 17th of March fast looming. Tell you what, we are breaking a sweat here, and we're not even in the hot seat itself. So hopefully the situation will be much more conducive in some ways, I beg your pardon, as the commission gets underway. For now, Mkhwanazi, live from the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College. It's back to you in studio.